The losing streak is finally over. Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Thursday, October 31st. It is Halloween, and the New York Jets just wrapped up their Thursday night Week 9 matchup against the Houston Texans. And for 5 straight weeks, we've been recapping losses on this podcast, and that finally ends this week as on a short week, the New York Jets snap their 5-game losing streak, pick up their first win since Thursday night, September 19th, when they beat the New England Patriots in week number 3. They get to 3-6 on the season, 2-2 at home, and the Houston Texans fall to 6-3 on the season and fall to 2-3 on the road. So the New York Jets now find themselves 2-0 this season on Thursday Night Football. 2 of those 3 wins coming here on Thursday night. The other one, of course, week 2 against the Tennessee Titans. And look, it feels nice to win. We'll break it all down in this podcast, episode 417 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. This was another wild one. This was another crazy game where it was kind of the tale of two halves. First half was terrible. You're getting sell the team chance inside MetLife Stadium, rightfully so. Woody Johnson isn't any good. Fans are frustrated. We were all fed up. And then you come out of halftime, and the New York Jets put up 21 points and outscore the Texans and really just put it to the Texans, really, in the second half. After going down in this game early on, the Texans they outscoring them 21-6 in the second half. Rodgers looked cooked in the first half. He looked like he didn't want to be there. He looked dejected. The team looked lost, and they found a way to put it together. And look, I'm just going to kind of lay this out here right now as a disclaimer. I know there is certainly probably a portion of this fan base, and we'll break down all angles of this game as we always do, that might really kind of buy into this game, kind of go all in again, 3-6, we're back. I know there might be a portion of the fan base that maybe does that. I'm not going to do that here. I've said it multiple times. This team's got to get back to 500 before we can talk. And I've said that plenty of times. So it's a nice win. You beat up a Texans team that's, of course, first in the AFC South. I know they're dealing with injuries at receiver. But all in all, the Jets played probably one of their best halves of football that they've played all year. Certainly their best brand of football that they played in the second half that we've seen since Thursday, or the Thursday night game, rather, against New England in week 3. It's been that long. I mean, they almost went winless here in October. And I know there are some positives, and obviously in a year that's been so tough, you kind of want to try and lean into this one, try and buy into this one, but I will continue to say it. I'm not going to sit here, and I'm just not going to sit here right now and tell you that this team's going to go 11-6 this year or 10-7. I still need to see this team 10 days to prepare now. Now you get a beatable game, a winnable game against Arizona. They still have a lot more work to do. A 1 win's nice, but I think we are a little crazy. We're getting a little too ahead of ourselves right now if we start to say, 6-6, 7-6, this team's back. We're, all this stuff. Take it week by week. You found a way to win this game. Now you get 10 days to prepare for an Arizona team that should be beatable. Hopefully the Jets with 10 days to prepare are a lot better than they did against Denver. So we'll see. I'm kind of just in the week-to-week mode right now. I'm not going to jump ahead to any conclusions. Take it week to week. Arizona, then Indy, then the bye, and you go from there. But it's nice to pick up a win. And that's that's kind of how I'll start here. It's nice to not go winless in October. Losing this game, going to 2-7, and then going on this mini bye and having to wait 10 days to play again. Just all the conversations, all the trolling, the Malachi Corley play, all that stuff. It just would have been disgusting, frustrating, sad, disappointing 10 days after this game. So nice that the Jets are able to pull this one out. In terms of the game, I feel like we have to start with the tale of two halves. Like I said, I kind of said in the open before I just went on that spiel about kind of just taking this week by week, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the Jets are now going to make the playoffs just because they won one game. They've still got a lot more work to do, and they still got a lot more things to clean up, and they're still 3 games below 500 and well out of a wild card spot right now. So not going to go all in there, but to my point about that game, like to about the half, you go to the first half of this game and it was awful. I mean, the New York Jets started this game about as bad as you could have asked for, specifically on offense. The defense all night was really flying around, especially from a pass rushing pressure perspective on CJ Stroud. They were all over him tonight, and that was the case from the jump. This game actually early on felt a lot like 2022 and 2023. Recently, that hasn't been the case. Recently, the defense has been so bad and the offense has been so bad. They haven't been like 2022, 2023. Early in this game, it felt like 2022 and 2023 all over again, where the defense was actually coming out with some energy and the offense just couldn't move the ball. Rodgers, to start this game, started 0-4, including 2 terrible missed passes to Devontae Adams, which were really alarming because that's his guy. Like, there's no excuse for Aaron Rodgers to miss those throws. There's no excuse for Aaron Rodgers to miss throws to Devontae. Like, all these times of so far this season where he's missed throws to Mike Williams or him and Garrett Wilson have been off. There's been times where there's kind of finger pointing on both sides. There's no excuse for that. Like, that's your guy. That's your teammate all those years in Green Bay. You two have a ton of chemistry. There's no reasons that you two should be that off early in a game like that. So you have that stuff going on. Then you get the Malachi Corley. This was like the ultimate Jet moment. We've had a lot of Jet games over the years that have been titled things. You know, the Ghost game, the Fail Mary last year. This would have been like the Malachi Corley drop ball, whatever. I'm sure somebody could have came up with more of a clever name than just that. But if the Jets went on to lose this game, especially if they went on to lose it by like 3, where the Corley touchdown would have been the difference, we would be talking about this being like the Malachi Corley game. Malachi Corley, who we've all been as Jet fans talking about, trying to get him more involved in the offense. He's been a non-factor through the first 8 games of the season. He gets a chance in this game and fumbles the football, drops the football at the 1-yard line before getting into the end zone. It's a touchback. Texans get the ball back. Jets miss out on 6 points plus Riley Patterson, assuming he did doink the first one. It went in. Riley Patterson hit all of his kicks tonight. They actually were executing field goals. They were executing extra points. So that there was a positive as well. But you get that from Malachi Corley, and you're sitting there as a Jet fan, and like last week was rock bottom. And you're literally sitting there as a Jet fan thinking to yourself, how every week we are finding new ways to lose. Literally, every week we're finding something new. Like now it's our rookie wide receiver who has not gotten any really chance at all the entire year, finally gets a chance and has a really nice play and drops the ball on the 1-yard line. Like just boneheaded, stupid play from a rookie. And you're sitting there as a Jet fan thinking to yourself, oh my God, like we are just another way, like finding new and creative ways to lose. Nobody does it better than the Jets. And that's what you're thinking to yourself in that moment. And I will say this, I do not know why players in college and the NFL do that. Like, just hold on to the football. Like, why are you so eager to drop it? Like, hold on to the football, get into the end zone, and then do whatever the heck you want with it. You want to punt it, you want to throw it, I don't care. But just get into the end zone. It's crazy the amount of times, and you actually see this probably more in college than you do in the NFL, that guys drop it a yard before the end zone or a half yard before the end zone, 2 inches before the end zone, before the goal line, and they drop the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why do you even want to do that? Like, if you're Malachi Corley, that's your first touchdown. Like, hold on to the football, dude. Just take that. Hold on to it. That's your first one. You get to keep that ball. It doesn't make any sense why guys do that. And we've seen in past years, I remember a while back, a couple years ago, there was a college game. It might have been the Oregon, Utah, I think it was, a couple years ago. I think it was the Oregon player, dropped it on the 1. He didn't realize. I think Utah picked it up, or maybe it was vice versa, and they ended up taking it to the house because the refs never blew the whistle. They saw he dropped it and ended up taking it to the house. This one, of course, was a touchback, but they're very lucky that Houston didn't pick this thing up, or that the ball just stopped, Houston picked it up and took it to the house while the Jets were celebrating. That was awful. And you're thinking to yourself as a Jet fan, like, this is same old Jets. Like, we're finding a way on prime time to just embarrass you. Only the New York Jets do this. Have a receiver drop the ball. Like, you just what? Like, how many more different ways does this team need to find a way to lose? So that was going through your mind. Then you had sell the team chance. Team getting booed off the field, rightfully so, playing like absolute garbage. Rodgers looked awful. The defense was doing its job for the most part. Couple bend but don't break drives. But that was the majority of the first half. And then you go to the second half and something clicked. First drive of the second half, Jets scored touchdown. 11 play, 70-yard drive. Took up about 6 minutes on the clock. Just right down the field. March right down the field. Get right back into the game. Tie it up. Rodgers finds Garrett on what was just a amazing catch. And then Garrett Wilson made just another amazing catch. The Garrett play was crazy. And then you get the first Garrett play was crazy. Like, a one-handed catch, beautiful. And you get the second Garrett Wilson touchdown, which was exactly, I believe it was one drive later, because then the Texans went down, kicked the field goal. You get the next Garrett Wilson touchdown, which was just absolutely wild. That was crazy. One of the craziest catches I've ever seen in my entire life. Not just as a Jet fan, like, not just comparing it to other Jet catches, just talking about like NFL catches in general. That is one of the craziest catches you'll ever see. It just amazing play. And then, Garrett had two of those tonight, the one prior, and then that one was just wild. So that was awesome. And then, of course, you also had Devontae, who left the game concussion protocol, comes back. Rodgers finds him down the sideline for a touchdown to kind of put the icing on the cake. So really was a tale of two halves. The Jets tonight played 30 minutes of football, and they found a way to come away with a victory. That's really the reality of it. They played 30 minutes of football, and they came away with a victory. So you take it, you move on, and hopefully this can, spark something again. Continue to say this team needs to get back to 500 for me to start to really potentially buy in or believe again, if that's the way to put it. But, you just got to take it week by week and I guess keep chipping away. But that was really it. Now, when you look at Rodgers, like I said, kind of a slow start, but picked it up there late. 22 of 32, 211 yards, 6.6 yards per completion, 3 touchdowns. Was sacked twice, probably under a little bit more pressure. Olu was in, Mitchell was in, Olu at right guard, injuries up front on the offensive line all over the place. Will Anderson was also banged up. I would say I thought the Jets offensive line handled the Texans pass rush better than I probably thought they would have. I thought Tyron Smith was going to have I thought Will Anderson was going to have a field day all night on Tyron Smith. Didn't think that was necessarily the case. I thought Morgan Moses, for the most part, held up his end of the line against Danielle Hunter. Overall, I don't think the line was too bad. Passer rating of 118.1. Early in the game, I think the offensive line was probably maybe even worse. That was probably something too in the second half that got better. There was the one play with Rodgers, though, where he scrambles for like 8-9 yards, picks up a first down, and gets called back for a holding on Olu. Rodgers looks like 30 again, and they get called back. So that was unfortunate. But look, he's 1-0 since the cayenne pepper and water. Cayenne pepper and water. Talked about it this week. The fountain of youth. Thomas Morstead introduced it to him, started drinking it, says he's feeling better, and now the Jets have won. So they are 1-0 with Rodgers taking cayenne pepper and water. And who knows? Maybe that's what saves the Jets season. Cayenne pepper and water. As for the run game, I thought it was solid. I thought overall it was pretty solid. They kind of had a very similar run game going to what they had in New England, except this time they didn't stop it, which was good. New England, they stopped running the ball for some reason. Brees had 15 carries tonight for 74 yards, just 0.1 tick below 5 yards a carry, but pretty much 5 yards a carry. Braylon Allen didn't do a whole lot. 4 carries for 9 yards. It was mainly Brees. As a team overall, 21 carries, 100 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. Solid day for Brees. 74 yards. basically 5 yards per carry on those 15 carries. Solid day for him. They had, again, the similar run concept, similar run plays, kind of outside edge, left outside, right outside. Very similar schemes, concepts that they were drawing up there that they drew up against New England that was working, except against New England, they went away from it. They went back to it here and stuck with it during this game. So that was certainly a positive and helped definitely in the second half to kind of balance things out a little bit more. Like I said, receiving wise, Garrett Wilson, I mean, just unbelievable. Probably the, Odell catch will be up there. I know people will debate. I'm sure it'll be a hot debate over the next 24 hours or so. That was personally the greatest catch I've ever seen a Jet wide receiver make. And you can make the case that's the greatest catch you've ever seen somebody make, football wise, NFL wise, ever. That's how crazy that was. To get the shin down. At first, it looked like it was going to be one of those highlight reel plays that just kind of gets lost because he didn't get his feet down, didn't get enough body parts in, but that wasn't the case. Went to review. Crazy grab. And Garrett's had, I said it going into this game, he had the one drop against Pittsburgh, the one ball that popped off his chest, which was massive. But other than that, from a fantasy and like a statistical standpoint, he is putting up a very, very productive season for this Jets team. Another game today where he had nine receptions on 10 targets, so was catching everything that came his way for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a huge day for him. Going into this game, he had 3 100-yard games in the last 4 weeks. He's had, 4 of his 5 touchdowns have come in the last 5 games. So he's really turned it up here over the last 5 weeks out of, all the things that we could say about Sauce and, Brees is starting to pick things up a little bit. Garrett's definitely out of that group has definitely been the best this season. No doubt. And he's really opening up now with Devontae here, where it felt like today, finally, with the Devontae touchdown was the first time him and Rodgers actually had a vintage moment where they connected with each other. It's still kind of iffy. Before the half, he tried to get it to Devontae, was batted down. I believe Stingley was on him. Like I said, the 2 plays early in the game, one Rodgers overthrew him. The other Devontae was just stopped his round. Rodgers threw it over to the sideline, just completely missed him. There was a miscommunication there. That touchdown was kind of the first vintage moment. But my point is Devontae is taking a lot of attention away from Garrett, and you could definitely tell. Garrett's play is certainly elevated since Devontae got here. And Devontae easily had his best game as a Jet. 7 catches, 91 yards, and a touchdown. So between the two of those guys, 181 yards, 16 catches, and 3 touchdowns. And that's a pretty good winning formula. To have your top 2 receivers go off for 181, 15 receptions, and 3 touchdowns. If they continue to do that, there should be a lot more success on this offense like we saw today in the second half. Yeboah had the one grab. It was really just them two, if we're being honest. It was Garrett and Devontae. I mean, the Jets had 211 receiving yards, 211 passing yards today. 181 of those came from Devontae and Garrett. Ruckert had the one play late in the game. Yeboah had the one first down on late in the game on the 3rd and 1. Brees had a couple catches. Mike Williams had one catch. I think he was targeted twice. He had one grab. So that was it. I think there was that one play where Rodgers got Mike and he dove and he missed it. It was in the first half. And it might have been a 3rd down. He missed them. He dove. Rodgers kind of had a little bit of pressure, threw it downfield, missed Mike. But that was pretty much it. It was the Garrett and Devontae show. That was what it was. Especially Garrett. That catch was just crazy, crazy unbelievable. In terms of the defense, you can make the case it's the defense's best game since New England, probably. I don't even know if that's making the case. That's probably is right. I mean, I guess if you want to say Denver too, but since they lost against Denver, might as well say New England because they actually won that game. From a pressure standpoint, getting home and making the quarterback's life miserable, this was easily the Jets' best game from a defensive pass rush perspective since that New England game. That New England game, they sacked Jacoby Brissett 5 times, and they sacked Drake May when he came in 2 times. They sacked the 2 of them combined 7 times. In this game, they got to C.J. Stroud 8 times. 8 sacks on C.J. Stroud. And we went into this game, and I talked about it yesterday on the preview podcast, about going into this game, the New York Jets, when we talked to Ruben Gomez, of course, Texans analysts who we had on in this game. We talked about the Texans offensive line pass protection being a problem this season. And going into this game, the Jets pass rush has been non-existent, especially last week. And you knew in this game, if they wanted any chance of winning, you had to get to CJ Stroud, similar to the way they got to him last year when he came into MetLife and the Jets, of course, beat up the Texans. And that's exactly what they did today. They got all over CJ Stroud. See, they made CJ Stroud's life miserable today. Quinnen Williams, early in this game, was dominant. Like Quinnen Williams, if we're being honest, when the entire team didn't get off the team bus in the first half, Quinnen Williams was like the only player on this Jets team to actually show up in the first half. That's how dominant he was early in this game. He was one of the only guys to show up. So credit to Quinnen Williams. After what it was a little bit of a slow start for him, he has really turned it up over the last 3 games or so, even through the losses. Last week, he had a productive game. This week had a productive game. He's had what? This season, he's had he's had 5 sacks this season. 3 of them have come in the last 2 games. So he's really started to pick it up. Today was just getting back to the dominant player that we've seen, where he's just running over the interior offensive lineman, just plowing right through him, just overpowering him. And that's what he was doing early in this game. He had a 1.5 sacks. DJ Reed, he was another one, actually. DJ Reed and Quinnen. And I guess Hassan Reddick, you want to say Hassan Reddick, he had a couple pressures. I think Hassan Reddick had like 6 pressures or something. Hassan Reddick was all over Stroud today. I'm still not going to sit here and hype up Hassan Reddick because I'm not going to do it. I still need to see more, and I still need to see this team win more before I start to just hand out flowers like that. But DJ Reed and Quinnen Williams, those are probably the only 2, actually. DJ Reed had the pass breakup early on. He also had the sack. And let's be honest, DJ Reed, even when this defense has been bad, has been one of the only good pieces to it, especially in a year where Sauce Gardner has taken a massive, massive step back, which is really concerning. And today was another example. Had 2 penalties. Coverage-wise wasn't very good. Was getting picked apart again a little bit. Like, it's alarming what is happening to Sauce Gardner. And the Jets really need to evaluate in the offseason what they're going to do with him, because you can't pay him $30 million after a year like this. You just can't do it. Unless if something drastically changes over the next 8 games where the Jets go on this tear and Sauce Gardner starts playing back at an all-pro level, then maybe you can start to have a talk. But right now, 9 games in, Sauce Gardner looks like a shell of himself. And that's a really bad thing. And there's like no signs of him breaking out of it, because teams are just targeting him right now. They're looking his way, and he's getting penalized. He's not tackling, and he's not good in coverage. And that's a problem. But back to the positives here. DJ Reed with the sack. Jamie and Sherwood had 2 sacks. Heck, even Michael Clemens. Michael Clemens had another weird day today. Well, not a weird day. Like, Michael Clemens had a typical Michael Clemens game today where got blown up on a couple run plays, terrible angles on a couple run plays, didn't hold his edge. There was one run play, even late in the game, where he missed the tackle. Should have had, I forget if it might have been J.J. Taylor. I don't know if it was Mixon or Taylor late in the game. It might have been Mixon. He had him locked. He had him bottled up for like a loss of 2 or 3. Mixon ended up breaking out of it and picked up like 2 or 3 with it. So Clemens did a lot of bad things again today, but he did register 2 sacks. So even Clemens got in the pressure column there with 2 sacks this afternoon, or this night, or tonight, I should say. So 2 from Sherwood, 1 from DJ Reed, 1.5 from Quinnen, 2 from Clemens. Solomon Thomas had a sack. Hassan Reddick had a 0.5 sack. And even Will McDonald was getting involved in this game as well. Will McDonald, I will continue to say, he continues to get held on so many plays, and the refs just don't call it. I don't know if it's just like he's long and lanky, and maybe it appears like it, but there has been many plays. Every play looks like he's getting held, and they never call it. But even he had a couple plays today. As a team, 11 quarterback hits, 4 passes defended, 8 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. So a very productive day for the New York Jets defensive line. Very productive day. And they took advantage of a unit for Houston that's really, really struggling and a little banged up as well. So that's a huge positive there. A big reason why in this game. That was pretty proud. Like there was points in this game where Stroud was just straight up missing open guys. And I think part of that could have been, he was rolling out of the pocket all night. Even some of the throws he was able to get off, they were on the run. His feet not quite set. Also plays where he maybe rushed it because he knew that pressure would be getting home. So I also think a lot of Stroud's inaccuracy today, the reason he went 11 for 30, which is a 36.7 completion percentage, could also be that pressure as well that the Jets were able to generate up front. So overall, strong day from that perspective. Again, Clemens still isn't playing very well. Kinlaw did get jumping on one of the sacks on one of those plays, but still some things that you scratch your head about him. Look, there's still a lot of things that clean up. I mean, Corley can't drop the ball before the end zone. You can't have all those issues on offense early in the game. Look, this was a far from the prettiest win. The Jets played 30 minutes of football in this game, and they found a way to win. So you take it. You don't apologize for it. You move on. Unfortunately, the Jets this season have lost a lot of games that they should have won. The Jets should not have won this game, but they won it. Maybe they should have won it. I don't know, because the Texans didn't play that well either. But my point is there's a lot of games that the Jets have played this year that they should have won. They should have won New England. They should have beaten Pittsburgh. There's a lot. They should have beaten Buffalo. There's a lot of games that they should have won this year. And it's little mistakes. This game, it feels like you can make the case with the way they played in the first half, they had no business winning, but they found a way to win. So it's kind of like the football gods giving one back to the Jets after 5 excruciating losses and their first win in a little over a month. October 31st. September 19th to October 31st, the losing streak finally comes to a close, and they pick up a win in the Black Unis, and the Black Unis was not the funeral of the 2024 season instead. So Jets win, get to 3-6, solid win there. By the way, like I said, Riley Patterson doinked the first field goal, went in though, but 3 extra points made, all 3 connected. So, nice to see 3 go through the uprights. Like I said, going into this game, if I would not have been surprised if Riley Patterson would have missed a kick tonight, because that just would have been like a Jet thing to do. But here we are, made all of his kicks. So, and let's be honest here, this was like a typical Jet. This was a same old Jet win. Nobody believes in the team. You get off to a terrible start and you find a way to win like that. This was a prototypical New York Jet victory. That's what this was. Not that this is a bad thing, but that this is what the Jets do. They play like trash, and then everybody doubts them. You have a team coming in. Even that they're banged up, the Texans are still better than the Jets. We know that. They're more well coached. They got, the better quarterback, all that stuff. And you have all those, like this was a game that I said it yesterday on the preview pod. I would not be surprised if the Jets came away with the win, because they win games like this. When they lose 4 or 5 in a row, nobody expects them to win a game like this on Thursday night. Everyone's doubting them. And what do? They come away with a win, because that's what the Jets do. So, look, a win's a win. It's nice to finally get one. It's nice to enjoy a win here. A W is a W. You take it, you move on, and you get 10 days to prepare for Arizona. You got to take a week by week. Call me negative, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and, if you still I still don't think this team goes on a run. I still think there's a lot of holes on this team. And I still don't think this team will make the playoffs, but prove me wrong. 3-6. Next week, you beat Arizona. You got 10 days to prepare. You can lean into it a little bit. Then you get Indy. You win that game. You get the 5-6, and then you hit the bye week. Okay. Start to talk a little bit more, but still a lot more work to do. 3-6, still far from a perfect game, but a W is a W. Like I said, it's been a while. I'm glad that I didn't have to come on here and talk about losing and a crappy organization and talk about who they're trading at the trade deadline and all that stuff, because we've been talking about that now for over a month. So it's nice to actually cover a win here. And now you get to enjoy the weekend. Jets win, enjoy the football Sunday, all that great stuff. And then get ready for what is a winnable game against the Arizona Cardinals, but of course, a lot to clean up. But it's been a while, and it's nice to win a football game because we expected a lot more of this. So losing 5 straight was brutal, but they found a way. W's a W. So we'll be back tomorrow. Although by the time this is up, it's technically Friday morning. So we'll be back today, Friday, whatever, whenever you're watching this, with episode on Friday. Obviously talking more about this game, more takeaways, all that stuff. I'm sure maybe we'll look more at the outlook, look ahead a little bit more to what's coming up here for the Jets as well as they get set for this mini bye before heading out to Arizona next Sunday. So that'll do it. As always, hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate you all so much for tuning in. And until next time, as always, through the highs and the lows, Jets, Jets, Jets.